All right, scholars. So now we're going to be learning how to write an informational paragraph because we've been taking class notes and reading about how feathers help birds survive. So today we're going to learn how to take our notes that we took the other day that told us how do birds use their feathers to survive. We're going to take this information and turn it into a paragraph. Now, when we're talking about a paragraph has different parts to it. So today we're going to talk about two of the parts, then tomorrow we'll talk about the other two. So when we're talking about a paragraph, we have different parts, like I just said. So parts of my informative paragraph. First, we have the focus statement, or some people will call it the topic sentence. And that, it tells the big idea of your piece of writing. So your first sentence is letting the reader know what your whole paragraph will be about, so they know what to expect. The next parts, they're called our detail sentences. So we're going to focus on the first set of detail sentences. So the detail sentences help the reader understand the focus statement. So it's talking to the reader, giving them more information about that first sentence that you create. So with our first ones, we're going to have the first one sentence that describes the first body part. And then the second one will sentence that tells what that body part does. So we're going to talk about one of the types of feathers and then explain how it helps protect the bird, how it helps them survive. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about two more detailed sentences. And then we have something called the conclusion. And the conclusion, it wraps up your piece and reminds the reader of the big idea. So you have your focus statement or your topic sentence to start to let the reader know what the paragraph is about. Then you have these detailed sentences that talk about your first sentence, that give more information. And then your conclusion lets the reader know you're done. Now, if that's a lot for you to remember, you can think of it also as a hamburger. So you have your top bun, which is your first sentence, is the topic sentence, or your statement. Then you have these different layers to give more information about this topic sentence. And then the bottom bun is your closing. And normally your closing sentence looks pretty similar to the topic because it's letting the reader again know what the paragraph was about and letting them know you're done writing. So we're going to focus on writing the focus statement today, or the topic sentence, and our one set of details. So when we're talking about our focus statement, we have to think about what is our paragraph about. So our question that we've been working with is, how do birds use their feathers to survive? So what are we going to talk about in our focus statement, in our paragraph? Right, how birds' feathers help them survive. And do they just help them survive in one way? No, they have all these different ways, in many ways. So I'm going to start my paragraph. Now, when you start a paragraph, you do like a little indent, a space. I don't start over here. I start in a little bit, and then I start my writing. So birds, feathers, help them to survive in many ways. So this is telling us what our paragraph is going to be about. We're going to talk about the different ways that feathers help birds survive. So this is our focus statement or our topic sentence. So again, when we started, we have a little indent. Now normally you wouldn't see that arrow, but I put it there so you knew I started over a little bit, and then when I got to my second line, I start back over here. So they know this is where the paragraph starts. Now we're ready to get one of our details. So we're going to look at our information that we came up with. So we described the type of feather, and then we talked about how that feather is used to help them survive. So I want to go down to the one that says thick. Now, is thick just a sentence? Can I just write the word thick? Is that a sentence? No, so we had to turn our notes into sentences. So instead of just saying thick, we could say what? Right, that some birds have thick feathers. That's what our story told us. So I'm going to continue with my writing. Some birds have thick feathers. Now that describes the type of feather we're talking about, but we need to say, how do these thick feathers help the birds survive? Because again, we're talking about them surviving. So let's go back to our notes to see when we go to thick, how it helps them to do it. It says protects from the sun. So they use their thick feathers to do what? How do thick feathers help the birds survive? Right, they protect them from the sun. They're just like sunscreen. So we're going to put these feathers, because we're talking about the thick feathers, since there's different kinds. These feathers protect them like sunscreen. So like how we put on sunscreen to protect from the sun, the birds use these thick feathers to protect them from the sun. So that's where we're going to stop for today. So again, we did our topic sentence or a focus statement, which tells me what we're going to talk about. So our focus statement says birds' feathers help them to survive in many ways. And again, I do the indent so they know where to start for my paragraph. Then after our focus statement, we came up with our detail. So our first detail with using our class notes, we said that some birds have thick feathers. But that still didn't yet tell me about how they use them to survive. So then I had to add more information. These feathers protect them like sunscreen. Awesome job with listening how to make a paragraph. Now if you want, you can also copy down to show that you're starting the paragraph at home, and you can also draw a picture to match. Tomorrow we'll finish up because we still need to write more details and we need to do our conclusion. Have a great day.